Today's episode of the Marketplace Pastors podcast is brought to you by Revestify, a faith-driven FinTech platform transforming how the body of Christ gives, funds, and sustains kingdom vision. At Revestify, generosity becomes a lifestyle. Their secure technology allows believers to automate their giving and link everyday transactions to eternal impact. So whether you're a ministry, entrepreneur, or everyday giver, Revestify helps you sow with intention and see the harvest of your obedience. Visit revestify.com and experience the future of kingdom generosity, where faith meets FinTech. Well, welcome to yet another amazing episode of the Marketplace Pastors podcast, where we partner with the Holy Spirit to shift paradigms, serve purpose-driven leaders, and bring heaven's strategies into the marketplace with the perfect love of God. I'm your host, the Marketplace Pastor, Chai, like the tea, and today we're stepping into the boardroom of generosity, technology, and kingdom impact. Joining us in this session is Maluba Saleh, co-founder and CEO of Revestify and VinSpace, two platforms reimagining generosity and income creation through technology. With a background in cognitive development and neuroscience, he blends strategic innovation with human insight to build scalable marketplace ecosystems. As a former U.S. Marine and award-winning entrepreneur recognized by J.P. Morgan MEDA for Innovation, Maluba leads with discipline, purpose, and vision. At the heart of his leadership is to democratize access, whether that's access to wealth creation or kingdom generosity, and to help people steward technology with integrity, faith, and foresight. Be sure to listen all the way through because this conversation will challenge you, encourage you, and equip you to act. So grab your journal, open your heart, and welcome into the boardroom, Maluba Saleh. Come on in the room, sir.
Hello. Thank you for having me here today.
So let's go ahead and get into this conversation. First and foremost, I am so excited that you're here in the boardroom with us today. I'm so excited just about the amazing things that you're building. And I was so grateful to meet you at Twin Cities Startup Week. I was like, oh my God, every place that the Lord tells me to go, I meet the most amazing people that are right in alignment with either what I'm looking for or maybe one of the people that I'm working with as a coach or a mentor, or even my daughters are looking for to, scale their businesses or to look for passive income streams. And so when I heard you talking about this God idea that you had, I was like, he has got to be on the podcast. So thank you so much for accepting my invite.
Thank you so much for having me on. I think it's such a blessing just to be able to have a conversation and share all the crazy ideas and the things that we're doing, and just have the opportunity to speak to people and to speak with you. I think it's going to be phenomenal. So thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
For sure. For sure. So let's get into this thing, right? Because, the title of this episode is Reimagining Generosity, where faith meets FinTech, right? And so every kingdom assignment begins with a burden, right? Or a revelation. And so can you take us back to that moment when the idea, we'll start first with Revestify, was born? Take us back to like your journey with the Lord and how you just all of a sudden heard God say, this is what you need to do. And then we'll just take our listeners on a journey of how you went from idea to implementation to pivoting, right? When you felt like you needed to pivot, and then how you've been able to scale and grow your business.
Yeah, so when it comes to Revestify, I think one thing that I always keep in mind is that God doesn't always give you the entire revelation right away. Sometimes God gives it to you in chunks. right? And when you're going through it, you're seeing it. He gives you pieces that you can start to put together, and then at the end, you kind of see all of that kind of made sense, right? So sometimes your initial inclinations might not be the end result, right? And so Revestify actually started a little bit about myself. I was in the Liberian Civil War as a child when I came here around 2006, 2007. And I still have a lot of memories from that. And I left my mom in Liberia as well. And so I came here, went to school, studied neuroscience, and I was still scraping for, for dollars to send her. And so one day I was in Chipotle in my car. At that time, I was a property manager, and I felt really bad. I'm like, man, I'm eating Chipotle right now. Well, I wish like my mom had some money to eat some food, right? And so it was trying to make that decision of like, okay, who's gonna eat here? So I felt very convicted, right? I think it was that conviction that started that. And so what I did was I thought about it. I'm okay. What if I can create something wherein wherever I eat, whenever I eat, she also eats, right? And so whenever you eat, they eat. So I'm like, okay, cool. There's Acorns. What can we create a platform like Acorns, but that also automatically and streamlines giving whenever you're buying something at a store or buying something, paying your Netflix bill, just all the random expenses that we incur in America, right? And so that's when that first piece of the revelation came in. Revestify was born, and Revestify was meant to invest in people. It was an investment in people. So you're investing in something that's even way more valuable that you can't really count the blessings on your fingers whenever you invest into the life of somebody else. And so that's how Revestify came along. I thought about the idea. And one thing about me, when I do toot my horn a little bit, if I think about an idea, man, I just gotta do it. I just have to do it. And I think that's one of my biggest weaknesses is that I have a lot of ideas and I just have to execute and so I called up a really good friend of mine, Maya at Carleton College. We went to college together. She senior software engineer at J Morgan Chase. I'm like, hey Maya, I have this idea. XYZ, whenever you eat, they also eat. And she's like, oh my God, I love it. And so we started to put together a team to create that. And then soon after, we saw some challenges, on some unforeseen challenges, just related to money transmission, money transfer, and a bunch of other, KYC and just compliance issues, the whole FinTech yard. And so we're like, okay, we're not a money transmitter. We don't have like all the necessary resources right now to do that. But what can we do now, and how can we turn this energy and this passion into something that can still be beneficial to a lot of people, even though it wouldn't be beneficial to sending my mom and other family members food or money over time? Because the initial idea is whenever you're eating, buying something, that money builds up little by little, even if it's a dollar or 5 cents. And then they're able to withdraw that once it hits a threshold on that side. So we thought about, okay, how can we pivot? How can we turn this energy into something else? And that's when we're like, okay, cool. We can also leverage our current resources, which is our talent, and just our pure willpower and pure grit to create something, even if we didn't have the finances to bring it into full fruition. And so we thought about, okay, um, what are other applications where people might also need finances and need donations? And we thought about the church. The one thing, like, I also go to church. I go to church. Everyone in our Vestify group is of a faith based or is very faith led. I would say faith driven. And so we're like, okay, this is going to be an easy pivot, a very easy pivot, because it really aligns with what we're trying to do, and we can see how it can make a huge splash in the U.S. as well. And it was a little bit easier to implement because there's less restrictions. You're only dealing with one country when it comes to the fintech portion of it. And so we decided to pivot and create Revestify to help churches increase donations, tithes, because there's a parable in the Bible of the woman that only had a 1 cent to her name, and she gave that, and Jesus honored her donation way more than the rich guy that had so much money, but and decided to give a smaller portion of a whole, right? And so I came down to, like, it doesn't matter how much you have; it's just about the intent to give, and blessed it is to give, more blessed to give than it is to receive. So we decided to create Revestify with that initial um, inspiration. And then we pivoted again, or we added more onto it, and we are still in the process of completing this feature. We wanted to think about how can we create something that members of the congregation can also benefit from, because a church is more than just a building. The church is the people, right? And the church is the men and women, the grandma and the auntie, the kids who, they might only have $1 to give, but they're still giving. And they're also going through a plethora of other financial hardships all the time, especially in this economy. And so we decided to create something wherein members of the church can also be able to reap from each other, and sow into each other and build each other up. And that just reminded me a lot about, like, Civil War times, when the church was really together and the church was really helping each other, regardless of what was going on outside, right? And so we decided to create a private label GoFundMe like feature, right? Wherein people can create private fundraisers in their church, and members of their congregation can automatically give towards that fundraiser, right? So if Sister Susan is going through a bad time and she needs knee surgery, she can create that fund. A notification automatically goes off to all the people in her church because they're already using her platform to give, and everyone knows Sister Susan already, and now she's able to raise $5,000, $10,000 for her medical expenses, for example, and that can be extrapolated to a bunch of other examples. And so that leverages the network power of, and the relationship power of people in your church, and is very different from GoFundMe, where you would have to manually kind of text everyone in your contact, and hope that some random people, and pray for a trend to be able to receive or complete your campaign. So that's how Revestify was birthed. That's how I transitioned. That's how I pivoted again.
That's so amazing and very honorable, right? And very needed. I think as entrepreneurs, most of the time when we get guide ideas, it's to answer or solve a problem that we see in the marketplace. And sometimes it's really hard to discern, between opportunity and divine instruction, right? Should I monetize this? Should this be something that I give away for free, right? How did you discern, especially being an innovator in the FinTech space? And we know in FinTech, it take money, 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 money in order to grow and to scale what it is that you're trying to do. So how were you able to discern between, this is just an opportunity that I can build something versus this is a divine instruction from God and it's really going to help people? And how did you maintain, your faith and your stewardship and the principles that you learned through the word of God as you were building this innovative idea?
Phenomenal question. And yeah, I wish it took smiles and just good vibes to, run a business. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the currency. But the currency was always a byproduct. It wasn't our sole intent of, like, hey, we want to go make a bunch of money off of people. It's we want to go help a lot of people, and we found purpose in it, right? For me, it's a very, very purposeful thing. Like, I don't care what's going on in the world as long as I'm able to create. That's one of my mottos in life, is service through creation. I think that um, like God Himself is a reflection of that, creating the world and creating all the beautiful things, which is such a huge service to us. And I think being able to serve creation through what you create is, like, my entire motto. So that in turn gives me purpose by itself. And so we came into this. How can we lower the fees for churches? First of all, it's not about what we have, because if that was the case, we can go continue our 9 to 5 jobs and go to medical school and do that, just go make the money. There's a lot of other places you can make the money as well, right? And at the same time, we want to make sure the business is sustainable. And so we created our own unique model wherein churches can receive um, up to 100% of all the donations. And we are able to lower transaction fees down to 1.5%, which is way lower than the industry standard of 2.99%. And we were able to do that by having people link their card via Plaid, and utilizing systems like FedNow and RTP and some other things, and just the way we structure everything so that people can be able to give at the speed of debit, but with the cost of ACH, right? So now the church is able to keep more as well. That's the first way that we were able to kind of minimize fees and make sure that we're not taking because those transaction fees really do add up. If you're an organization or a church and you're raising 100,000 a month or so, 2.99% is a huge chunk. You have an entire organization to take care of, right? And so we're very conscientious of that. The second thing is, even for our Revestify crowdfunding platform, like I just talked about, we 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 don't charge fees on that. That is just purely tips. If whoever is given decides to tip the platform, that's how we sustain ourselves as well. So, and we know that the more we grow, the more that we add on, God will continue to bless us in different ways at scale and at volume. So the more people we serve, the more we can get out of it, the more we can be blessed as well, and we don't have to squeeze a few institutions for all their coins. So yeah.
Yeah.
How did you practically balance kingdom obedience with investor expectations, right? When you were scaling, the day-to-day realities of building and bills and business growth that we have to go through. I'm sure you needed investors. I'm sure, there were expectations that they had of you, but then you've got this heart for kingdom and for people. And so how were you able to balance those two?
Right, and so Revestify is completely bootstrapped by the team, and we at first it was a little bit interesting having those conversations with investors because I'm coming back from a neuroscience background. I'm coming into the whole business suite and learning as I go, and now I'm getting really good with those conversations, and now I'm able to raise capital for other ventures and things of that sort. But at the beginning, it was a learning curve for sure, just kind of understanding the entire startup ecosystem. And I understood it. I saw the abyss and I said, I'm all in, and I'm still here and I'll still will be. And so the way I was able to keep stable in all the turmoil, I would say, is I went to my friend's church, and his mom and dad preached there, and they told me I went to go present Revestify to them after church, and they told me, how does it feel? They asked me, how does it feel to use your gifts for the purpose of God and the kingdom of God? I never felt so much purpose in my life before. That just felt like the most wholesome, rewarding moment ever. I'm like, I'm happy. I'm happy. Regardless of whatever happens in life, I've made it. Literally, I am able to utilize my gifts in the way that I want to do it for the kingdom of God. And that's for me is the equation to like happiness. And so that's how I was able to do so because it was really for purpose and not for gain.
That's so good. That's so good. I love that.
Mhm.
So you've given some really practical examples of how the church can use Revestify. And of course, you all know that you can find the link in the show note. This episode is actually sponsored by Revestify. You can go on the website, of course, and schedule a consultation or, some type of user experience. What does that look like for someone that wants to engage with Revestify, whether they're a nonprofit or a church or an individual? How does this experience work for us on this end?
Yeah, so if you go to a church, first of all, I would encourage you to bring the platform to your leadership, your church leadership, or if you have a nonprofit, bring it to leadership as well, because it is an ecosystem. We do need the organization to have approval on it for us to be able to have our services within the organization. So that would be the first step. And then the second step would be downloading the platform, and we will come to you, especially if you're in Minnesota. If you're not in Minnesota, we have other means of helping your congregation on board. But if you're in Minnesota, we will come to your church. We will help your entire church on board, make sure everyone is taken care of, and help everyone set up as at the same time. But yeah, that's the process. And you can go to revestify.com. There are links on the website that will direct you to the App Store, or you can just go onto the App Store and spell out Revestify, and you can download it from there as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. So now we're going to pivot into this second platform. You've built two platforms that make wealth creation and generosity accessible, right? And so let's talk about this other amazing platform that I'm super excited about, because I'm in a space right now where I'm looking for passive income as I do missions work in Africa. And so let's kind of talk about this second platform, which I know is your baby right now, and that's VinSpace.
Yes, Vent Space. On the At the Vent Space team, we have like an inside joke that like vending just doesn't leave me alone. I've you know I it follows me. So backstory. When I first got done with college, I was in the house with a bunch of entrepreneurs and econ majors, and we were just talking business all the time. And that was like my first idea was, hey, I want to start a vending company. And they told me, hey, if you want to do that, you should have a good, like, strong differentiator. And so I decided to start a multicultural vending company and serving snacks and beverages from around the world, reflective of different demographics at their jobs, at the place they play, the place at their apartments, just serving snacks and beverages and different products that represent them, right? It's truly inclusive. And so that caught fire, and we were able to sustain ourselves with that as well, and learn a lot. I'm so glad. It goes back to the whole revelation part again. Like, God gives you what you can handle. And for me, I think vending was the perfect start for me because I could understand scaling a business, and all the different segments of a business, and the systematic approach of a business. Um, because I started small and I was able to scale and scale and scale, right? And so that was such a blessing. And I got out of vending because I actually lost my biggest contract. So I was actually vending for a very, very large organization in Minnesota with tens of thousands of employees. And a good portion of it was my fault because I didn't have the finances and resources to again continue to scale that. It was a cash intensive business, and it was a lot of opportunity at the same time. But I lost my biggest contract to the biggest vending company in the US. I would say they make billions. And so that was an eye-opening moment for me. But and at the same time, when I lost it on the day that I was supposed to sell it to someone who were going to pay like a good amount, six figures for it. And I'm like, okay, this is great. This is like a really good location. I'm gonna sell it. And that also illustrates how vending can also be an asset. We'll get to that later. But I was gonna sell it, and I lost it literally the day that I was supposed to sign on the sale. So imagine that, like a hundred thousands just gone, six figures just gone the same day. And it was very, very depressing time. But I stood up, and that was the biggest, most pivotal moment of my life because I understood that the confidence um wasn't in the things that I did and my accomplishments, but was in like the things that I learned and the skills, right? Of just learning how to scale a business and just all the different things, identifying the gaps and truly solving a problem and being relentless about it. And so I decided to pivot. I'm like, okay, cool. This is not working out anymore. I just lost took a big hit. I could have kept on going. I had other big contract opportunities for even bigger companies, but I'm like, okay, maybe like let's take a step back here because what I'm learning is I want to scale and I want to impact as many lives as I can as possible. And vending did wonders for me. And how can I put put others in the same position for it to do wonders for them as well, right? And so I decided to start on a journey of creating a platform called the Vent Space, and it is going to be the next evolution of commerce. So we had Shopify, and that got very saturated. We had Airbnb, still doing well. We had Uber. People were able to make passive income through Uber as well. And so now we're creating the vend space, a new era of vending. We're futurifying vending, where people can also be able to automate their income the way everything else is being automated right now. And so vend space is it's literally kind of like Airbnb, but for micro retail, right? And when people think vending, they usually think snacks and beverages, but vending is more than that. I don't know if you guys have seen the Labubu machines, pop art machines that are all around the malls. You can literally sell nails and you can also sell eyelashes. You can sell clothing. You can sell electronics. You can sell food products. You can sell specialty products, multicultural, whatever that can be sold. You can have it in a vending machine. The vending machines nowadays have gotten so much more better. Like the technology is so much better. You don't have to put in the coils anymore. These arms can come and pick the products up and vend it out. Anything can be vended. And so what we're doing is we're creating a platform where we're connecting vending locations to to entrepreneurs who are interested in vending. And we're also connecting restockers to help those entrepreneurs restock their locations. So we're taking a system that's already passive because you can already make money in your sleep with modern day vending machines and micro markets and office coffee services. Now you can really make it in your sleep and you can snore because you can have people restock your location for you on like a gig economy layer type of approach, right? So now we're taking this huge market that's about to be 100 billion globally and 33 billion in the US by 2026. So this huge market, and we are democratizing it. We're making it way more accessible, and we're showing people how you can make more money, automate that, and also have assets that you can sell, like I did that I was supposed to do that location that I lost, right? And so we are truly revolutionizing a space that has been forgotten about. And we are giving it some digital love and we are making it way more accessible for the masses. And so wait for event space because it's going to be amazing.
And I am so excited. This is definitely something that I'm going to be doing with my daughters, to set up for my grandson. Actually, he's going to have one in his name, right? He's only 4, but he's going to have he's going to have some coin coming in, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think it's a great way for you to be thinking about, building for the future and thinking about multiple streams of income, especially passive, because, most of us work long business days already. And we know that even what we do at 40 hours a week, sometimes it's not enough just to live. So you have to have these multiple streams of income, especially if you want to give to missions or if you want to give to your local church or you want to help with local initiatives and things like that. You have to have income streams, and I believe that God is raising up people like you for such a time as this, who can really help people look at additional ways to do that outside of the already saturated markets. And you mentioned that thing, it's like an idea gets out there, it pops, and then everybody jumps on the bandwagon, and so you're hearing it here first, y'all. Like I'm
There
telling
we
you, you're
go.
hearing it here first. On the Marketplace Pastors podcast, my family is already invested in this mission to do this work. And we're excited about what you're building and what you're doing for the future. And so when I think about innovation, when I think about the marketplace, that word innovation really comes up for me. And I'm constantly asking God for God ideas.
Mm,
Ideas in this, this era of AI, God
mm,
ideas in this era of taking something that's been done maybe for years and looking at new ways to do old things, right? like you said, systematizing things, right? Another part of your vision is democratizing things, right? So not making it just about you, but also helping other people, right? Grow a business, scale a business, training, support, development. And that's what it's about. To me, that is what this is about. And that takes us back to the Book of Acts model, right? Where everybody had everything in common and nobody was in lack. Nobody was missing anything. We all supported each other. We made sure that we were all okay. And I think that is really important because in this age of social media, we've become very selfie focused, right? And we forget that your sister next door, your brother down the street, if they don't have their needs met, guess what? They're going to be stealing. They're going to be breaking in your house, right? They're going to be destroying your community. But if you can be that light and give back and show them that you care or offer an opportunity, right, to be able to make that income, then oh my God, we'll be creating a beautiful world. So I'm so glad that you shared that. And I'm glad that, God has given you this heart for mission, right? That's really what it is. It's mission. You have a heart for missions. The marketplace is often described as a modern mission field. So how do you see your company as a ministry in disguise?
Yeah, I mean, even with like my first vending company, Wogs Vending, I put it into my mission statement to give 10% back to the organizations or just a charity as a whole. I really do believe in giving back. And giving back that doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. Just using all your skills, your resources, any type of resources, to be able to invest into someone else, is it's huge, right? I think that's where that cultivation comes in, and you being able to cultivate other people and also being able to contribute to the life of it. You can contribute in different ways than just physical currency as well. And so I think if you're sitting there and like, man, I wish I can give 1 million to my church, I wish I can give like this much money to this person, just know that like your time, your life, your energy is way more valuable than any lump sum amount of money. And just being able to like, give back in those different ways where you can be able to use your time. Because if I were to sit back and think, hey, I need this much money to even get started, I would have never started, right? Because I think it is a time and energy, and once you're able to focus and put all your time and energy towards focal points, which, like I said, is one of my weaknesses is just the focal point. But at the same time, is a gift as well because I do see myself as a parallel, and I call it parallel entrepreneur, being able to build different things in parallel. But at the same time, really grabbing for focus and making sure that I'm focused as well. So yeah, being able to use your resources and contribute in other ways is also amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I love that parallel entrepreneurship. I'm one of those too. I'm
Yeah.
always building like two or three things at the same time. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden you're like, when did she start that business, right?
Yeah.
They used to call us serial entrepreneurs, but I love that term,
Yeah.
parallel
Parallel.
building. Okay, so I have another question. As we kind of tie a bow on this beautiful episode, I have so many questions for you. I mean, it's just, we could probably talk for a whole nother hour. Can you share a time, when your faith was tested in business and how you saw God's hand turn that moment into a testimony? I remember you sharing something with us at Twin Cities Startup Week, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit. But how was your faith tested, and how did you see God come through for you on the other end?
No, for sure. I think like I always say, like business sometimes is literally just looking at the abyss, looking at, here's the thing. I literally told my pastor this last Sunday, because uh, he had a sermon about when he first moved, when his parents first moved to the US and they couldn't pay for rent for a few months, and there was a certain gentleman that came to their apartment unannounced, to the apartment complex, and paid for their rent three or four different times, and they couldn't afford the rent. And to this day, they didn't know how that happened or how it conspired. The reason why I mention that is sometimes we forget about what God has carried us through, And if we can just remember all the different things that he's carried us through and we're here now, it doesn't matter what's in front of us. It doesn't really matter like what's going on. So even when I was going through like hey, I was like really down for a moment there when I lost that huge deal. That also spiraled into a lot of other like financial things and really, but at the same time, like, hey, God has literally delivered me for from an entire civil war before. God has literally brought me here having this opportunity. God has brought me through much worse before. And I'm going to see who knows what I'm going to see in the future, but he's done it before. And there's no reason for me to not trust that he's going to do it again. He's continuously doing it. Right. And so like, my strength is not in me. If I'm like a bird that's literally flying on a tree twig, and I can fall at any point. But God got me. So I think that's what really carries me through all those different moments of turmoil. But yeah, just remembering.
Yeah, remembering. We call that having history with God, right?
Hmm.
And so when you have history with God, sometimes you're doing something new, but he's the same God. His word says that he changes not,
There
right?
we go. Yep.
And even though your situation and circumstance may be different than the last time, he's still the same God.
Hmm.
And, it does take some reminding yourself that, wait a minute, he didn't bring me this far to leave me, right? He done brought me through once. He gonna bring me through again. I may
Again,
not know how, I may not know when, but he's gonna do it, right?
he is.
And I think it's always it's faith building. Whenever you step out in faith to build a God idea, it takes faith to not only birth it, but to see it manifest to the fullness of what God intended for it to be. And literally taking steps. I always say he gives you just enough light for the
Mm.
step that you're standing on.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like you said, he'll give you a piece here, and then you'll do that, and then he'll give you another piece, and then you'll do
Mhm.
that, and then he'll say, "Now just rest for a minute." It's like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Like we want to just be grinding, like especially as
Yeah.
serial entrepreneurs, we're like, I want to be creating,
Yep.
right? But some days he's, I just want you to rest, right? And so I'm grateful that he is mindful of us and that he knows what we need and that we can be trusted to innovate. And I'm so grateful that we have his mind and we have his heart. Because it's one thing to have the mind of God, it's another thing to have the heart of God, right?
Mm. Yep.
Because a lot of people have God ideas, but they don't really have his heart.
Yep.
And so it becomes very selfish, it becomes very greedy. People's heart change, in the middle of building it. They started off one way and then they go into a different direction. And then that's when you see things fall apart. And so thank you for sharing that wisdom to those that are listening today. As we wrap up this episode, is there a word of encouragement that you'd like to just release over marketplace innovators, those that are listening, maybe those that have a God idea, but feel like I don't have the financial resources right now to do what God said to do? Is there something that you want to just leave them with besides the fact that God is going to show up and he's going to do it, but to encourage them to take those small steps with God, right? Until you birth it or until you see the full manifestation of what he promised.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say is God is a very just God, and faith without works is dead. And so you can definitely have the most brilliant ideas. I know people who have very brilliant ideas. I sign NDAs almost every day, because we also have a software firm that create apps and software for people, and so I see these great ideas all the time. And it's all about the execution and just getting started and just going, because there's one thing about this world is whatever you put in is what you're going to get it. You're going to get it out. If you have high input, you're going to have high output, right? And that goes on all pillars of life, and especially when it comes to creation, right? You think about creating anything, it takes so much energy. Anything takes so much energy to create, energy and focus. And so I would say is going to be a matter of time. As long as you're consistent, as long as you put in the work, there's no way you're going to fail. God will not fail you. And so, literally, put in the work, be consistent, and that's how God is going to reward you for that consistency. And I think that's the most real advice I could give, that's the one I'm living right now. Doesn't matter how I feel some days. Like I said before, I'm looking into the abyss. And I was literally on the phone with one of my business partners earlier today. I'm like, hey man, we're all in. Like, that's our motto around here. Our motto around here, we're all in, regardless of how up, down, left, right. You're going to see me and continuing to create. So we're all in, and you should ask yourself that question: are you all in?
For sure. Absolutely. Are you all in?
Mhm.
Because honestly, that's what it's about. Like, this is the long game, right? This is a
Yep.
marathon, right? This is definitely not a sprint.
Mhm.
When we're building for the kingdom of God, it takes time, it takes endurance, it
Oh yeah.
takes faith, it takes trust, it
Mhm.
takes patience, it takes consistency. And, it's not going to happen overnight. And oftentimes I see, some of my Gen Z mentees, thinking that things are supposed to happen overnight. And I'm like, forget what you see on social media, man. This stuff does not, anything that you're building with God that's going to be sustainable and have longevity for generations to come takes time. You've got to go deep in order to go high. Things that come really quick, they go really fast. So that's something that I want to constantly encourage individuals with, that when you're building something that will last, it definitely takes time and
Mm,
it takes a lot of energy.
mm.
So go ahead and share with our audience. Of course, all of this information is going to be in the show notes, how they can connect with you either at Revestify or at VinSpace to learn more about both of these platforms. Again, you all can have access to that information in the show notes, but I'll give you the space to be able to let them connect with you directly.
Yeah, and so I love talking with people. I love meeting new people, even if it's virtually or in person. I The best way to connect with me will be on LinkedIn. So my first and last name, Maluba Saleh, on LinkedIn, and I also have a link in my bio for a coffee chat. So we can do a virtual coffee chat. We can chat, be about whatever, right? And so I do have some time allocated for that, and so I'll love to connect with you as well. But yeah, that's how you can connect with me.
For sure. And of course, all of his information is in the show notes. I'm so excited about what you're building. I'm excited about our partnership that we're building as well. We've got
Mhm.
things to do, not only here in America, but in Africa. There's things that we need to
Amen.
do, there's ecosystems that need to be built there. And so we're here for it. We're here to build. We're going to continue to link arms and do what it is that God has called us to do and forge ahead so that his kingdom can come on earth as it is in
In
heaven.
heaven.
So we want to say thank you all for joining us for yet another amazing episode of the Marketplace Pastors Podcast. We not done. We are not done. Y'all think this is it? I told y'all season 5 was a banger, and we have 2 more amazing episodes for you. So I want you to continue to invite, subscribe, and share with everybody that you know, because we are dropping gems this season and you do not want to be left behind. See you soon. Thank you for listening. This episode was sponsored by VinSpace, the platform making passive income accessible to everyone. Just as Airbnb changed real estate and Uber changed transportation, VinSpace is redefining ownership through automated retail. With AI-powered kiosks and micro markets, you can generate as little as $500 and up to $5,000 per month without massive capital or industry experience. VinSpace connects operators, locations, and opportunities, empowering believers to build sustainable wealth for kingdom impact. Learn more at thevinspace.com and join the revolution of faith-based entrepreneurship. We'll see you in the boardroom next time.